Hey, welcome to How to in a Few. Today we're going to take a look at installing something called a Rev-A-Shelf. That's the company that makes it, but what it actually is, it's an under-counter garbage solution. Many houses already come with this installed where you pull out the drawer, open the drawer, and the garbage cans come out, and then it conveniently hides back under the counter. So we don't have one, but after today we will. So let's go and take a look and see what's in the box. Okay, so I'll be honest, sometimes I'm willing to save a little bit of money and not go the expensive route, but when it's something that I know I need good quality for, then I'll spend a little more, and that's what we have to do here. So we got one trash cover. That was $20 additional option. The garbage cans come with it. That was something huge for me because I wanted to make sure that the garbage cans actually fit the unit. You can buy some of these units separate, and you know, who knows if you're going to be able to find the right size garbage bins. Alright, so this is the actual meat of the package. This is going to be useful. Template to help guide the installation. More hardware. All right, so there we go. Two rails, the bottom, another guardrail, and then this is presumably to hold the cabinet door, because this will, instead of us having a swing open door, this will the door will actually be mounted on these rails, and it'll slide out as a drawer with the garbage and then slide back in. Alright, it looks like we can take care of some of this right here on the table. Okay, that's going to be injury number one. So if you look at the template, it's going to go on like this. And the next part are the two rails. Which do appear to kind of snap in the back, but they're not snapping. See if we can't convince it to snap in. This is kind of a plastic rubber hammer. There's a little bitty bump that needs to go under that lip. This side I think is actually in. And now my holes for the screws in the front are also showing up. When I am using power tools, I would warn you to make sure you're comfortable with your power tools so that you don't strip. This first screw is going into plastic, so I turned down my torque setting so that I could be sure not to strip the screws. Next step, does appear to be this way around. Those are going to take part number 10, which is the little machine screws. Now these are going into metal, but I'm not going to bother changing the setting. And in fact, since they're machine screws, I think I will just start them off by hand. Alright, essentially our drawer is together. So it looks like it simply clamps on the back as such. And there we go. Alright, since I left you, we made some modifications to make sure that it fits under the counter. And what I did was I cut myself some boards and pre-drilled some holes so that we can lift this entire unit up so that it clears the little lip on the counter. So I mapped them out with a template and drilled some pilot screws so that I could attach these to temporarily attach them to the rack. And then I'm going to transfer this into the cabinet and screw the boards down and undo the rack. Then my boards will be placed correctly and I can finalize screwing down those boards. Then I'll come back and finalize screwing on the rack. I hope that makes sense. And the screw hole that I'm using, I don't know if you can see it here, is the adjustable one. I'm putting one screw into there, so that'll still give me some room to actually adjust the mount before I finalize the install. And so now you see we have our legs in place. Let's lift this off and I'll show you right now. You'll see why I needed to do this when you see the counter. Alright, so here you can see the install location. This is going to be removed and ultimately you'll pull this out, it'll slide with the rack and the garbage cans will be there. The reason why I needed to lift it was because of this bottom lip and it interfered as you pulled it out, but now it's able to clear and slide freely. It just has to be mounted in place. Alright, I think we're looking pretty good in there. So I'm going to go ahead and remove the cabinet. So it does appear that those screws are stripped in place. Alright, so that didn't go quite as well as planned. But we were able to remove the old hardware. Alright, this next step's going to be hard to see because I'm going to be in the way, and I'm aware of that, but what I have to do is get the rack positioned so that it's exactly in the center. And then I'm going to go ahead and screw down my boards, my little feet in there, using the pre-drilled holes that I have in there. Alright, so I'm fairly comfortable with where I'm at right now, so I'm going to go ahead and put a couple of screws in the front. Alright, so I'm confident that we have the front where it needs to be. The back, I'm gonna check and make sure that we're even, and then I'll put a few in the back too. But I am gonna have to move the camera, and you're gonna have to just trust me on that one. Alright, had to swap out my battery. I do have one screw on each pad in the back, and we can get an idea now. So I am getting a little bit of a rub, but not bad. And the most important part is that here, when it comes to the end, how it glides in, because that's going to shut the cabinet. So I think we're good. If need be, I might sand down a little bit on that ridge right here and here, because I believe that's where it's at. But first we'll get it in place and make sure that everything's down tight before I make any modifications. So now I'm going to undo the screws that I put in to hold the track on to the feet, so I can finish tightening down the feet. Alright, back at the table. I'm going to remove the rest of these hinges. Alright, for this next part, this is actually meant to be done while it's in the cabinet, but I am anticipating that that's going to be a problem. So, let's see if we can't get these parts installed here on the table. The edges of these brackets have to be matched with the thick part of the door. And see, we're not going to make that, which I knew we were going to need the spacers to give us some white spacers, and then some elongated screws to take the place of these smaller ones. And it looks like, if I'm just eyeballing it, we're going to probably have to go the full 2 spacers out. Alright, the way that it sits now, we can get outside screws but not the full brackets. But I'm still, if I go any further, I risk not being able to tighten these screws in far enough for it to actually have a good hold. So I think we're going to do good by this. So I'm going to go ahead and set those up already before I finish the install, because I already know that I will not have the room to work once I put it in the cabinet. These brackets remain adjustable, so once we get everything in place, we can do last minute adjustments on the door to make sure that it's straight or slightly move it up and down. Alright, after a little quick caulking and fastening down the wood pieces, we are ready to put our final screws into the bracket and then mount our cabinet door. So I'm about to put screws in. It's going to be a total of 3 screws on each foot, and I'll zoom in and show you those locations. The first one's right there, and that slot is adjustable, and then the other 2 spots, a little bit harder to see, but you can see them on that metal tab. But I'm not going to be able to like give you a shot of that because I'll be in the way. Alright, with all our screws in place, you can also see that I did manage to find where it was rubbing and use the multi-tool to cut out 2 grooves right there. And now we get much better action on the rollers. So you can see it's a lot easier, and once you get it back to a certain spot, it cushions itself back in, and it stays in. So it's going to stay shut, in case you're wondering. I mean, I was wondering, how does it know to stay shut? It's almost like there's magnets or something, but it holds itself shut. Now we just have to mount the door. Probably going to be the hardest part. Alright, unfortunately, none of this got videoed. But I can show it to you and let you know what we did. First thing we did is we stacked some books underneath to help hold us in place while I screwed the screws on the back side, and then somebody else was helping to support it. And kind of hard to see from this camera angle, but we have 3 small screws on each side holding the door in place. I was a little concerned because the door, if I show it to you, is slightly lower than the door next to it. Now these cabinets are all going to eventually get painted white and have new hinges and handles, so but for now they're still wood. But I don't like the fact that it's just a hair too low. And there are adjustments. If you remember those big screws that I put in on the side, it's in there pretty good. I'm going to loosen those and bring that up about 1/8 to 1/8 of an inch on each side, and then retighten them, and we should be ready to put the garbage cans in and ready to go. Okay, so here's the final check on our handiwork. Hopefully our garbage cans will fit. And all right, I'd say that's how you do that. All right, we need some kind of handle, but other than that, nice soft close. Can't beat that. All right, so that was our Rev-A-Shelf job. A little bit more involved than what I thought, but I kind of anticipated that I might have to make some cuts into the cabinet so that it rolls nice and easy. After I got a hang of the adjustments, it wasn't really that hard to align the door once we got it mounted. I'm thankful that, I mean, it is a good quality piece of equipment. It rolls real nice and smooth, has a nice cushion effect right before it closes. Still had a problem to solve about putting a handle on it, how we're going to do that, because we have new handles that we didn't want to use until after we paint the cabinets. But as you saw, the one that was on there was cracked, so I really don't want to, after doing all that work, put something ugly and old back on there. Alright, so hopefully that helped you out. If it did, give me a thumbs up, press the subscribe button. That always helps YouTubers like me, so we can keep making videos like this for people like you. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.